Hello and welcome to Little Drops of Wonderful, where I talk about all things crochet and knitting and any other creative stuff I can get my hands on. Happy March, happy Mother's Day if you celebrate, because this video will be published on Sunday, which in the UK is Mother's Day. So hopefully by the time you're watching this, I'll be cozied up somewhere with a cup of tea and a book, maybe a bit of crochet on the go, maybe a film or something, but whatever it involves, hopefully it will be total relaxation, good food and plenty of tea. Maybe some wine as well. And for the first time in ages, the clocks for British summertime aren't jumping forward on Mother's Day. It's the following weekend. So, because quite often in the UK on Mother's Day, we lose an hour, which seems grossly unfair. Have I said where you can find me? Oh, it gets really boring saying all that, doesn't it? Everything you need to know about where to find me is in the description box, where you click more underneath the video, along with all of the show notes, which I take quite a lot of time to do, with all links to patterns and all the information of everything that I talk about. So if you are inspired to go and find something, the link, or the information at least to help you Google, should be underneath. But if it isn't, just drop me a comment. And I have loads of crochet and knitting and other creative loveliness to share with you today. I am feeling quite, I don't know, light and breezy, a bit light and breezy today. I haven't got any tea. I was going to take a gulp of tea. I haven't brought one up with me. I'll have to pause and get one in a bit. Yeah, which is quite unusual because life is really utterly overwhelming at the moment. We've got a lot going on in our life, and then there's stuff with work and kids, and the big 2023 declutter is well underway. So I am surrounded in every single room and part of the house with stuff that is in transition. It is just like my worst nightmare. I'm surrounded in clutter all the time whilst we're sorting it, because I can't just get rid of stuff. I need to make sure it doesn't end up in landfill. So got stuff going to the charity shop, stuff that we're going to take to a boot sale because we've got so much stuff we figured we might do one of those, stuff that needs to go to be recycled, stuff that needs to go to the tip, stuff that needs to go to specialist recycling and everything. And it's just a huge transition, and it's happening all over the house because both the girls are getting their rooms decorated this year, and they've had a big declutter and clear out and everything as well. So it's really overwhelming, and I'm going off on a total tangent because this is nothing to do with crafty stuff or knitting or crochet. But just so you know, even though it looks in this little area of just a door and a wooden vase thing in the background, beyond the camera is total chaos. So let's talk about some knitting, crochet and other bits to keep me distracted. I have got, hang on, let me just adjust my face to smug face, 6 finished objects to share with you today. 6! I have been on a bit of a roll, but before I show you those, you might ask, what am I wearing? Or you might ask, what on earth are you wearing? This is the first ever garment that I made myself. It's crocheted. It is the puff sleeve pullover by Ron Strong, god of crochet socks. It was in issue 56 of Inside Crochet, and I made this and finished it in September 2014. Nearly 9 years ago, well, 8.5 years ago I made this. It's made with Women's Institute premium acrylic, the kind you get from Hobbycraft in gigantic balls. I have to say, it's worn well. It hasn't pilled at all, this yarn, which is amazing. I never wear this. I'll stand up to show you it. I've got a vest underneath as well. So let's go around here. So here it is. I've done the sleeves too long. It's supposed to be a kind of nod to 1940s fashion. So these sleeves, I think, are supposed to be, they fall just below my elbow, but they're supposed to be sort of more up here and a bit poofier in that kind of 1940s style. But I was very new to crochet at the time, and I probably didn't even gauge swatch or anything like that. And then the rest of it's just a very plain body, which you knit in pieces and seam together at the sides. And then you add the lacy kind of sleeves here. I never wear it ever because I don't really like it, and yeah, it's just not something I wear, but it's quite nice for around the house. And I know that you're not supposed, who was it, William Morris said, didn't he? What did he say? have nothing in your home. Oh, you see, I'm going to try and say a quote now without actually knowing what he said. Something about have nothing in your home that you don't know to be useful or believe to be beautiful. Well, this doesn't fall into either of those categories, but I do think there is a third category, which is when you've put a lot of time and effort into something and you just can't get rid of it, and it reminds you of a time in your life when, without realising it, when I was getting into crochet and starting into making my first garment and discovering yarn, and before I discovered podcasts, all of that stuff. This holds too much in it for me to get rid of it, and it takes up no room hanging in my wardrobe. And if it means I can get it out every now and then and wear it on the podcast, then I guess you could put this in the useful category. So shut up and move on to finished objects. Okay, so first of all, my DK socks are finished. So I did have a pair of socks last time, but I'd knit them in 2 different ways, and as a kind of experiment to see which I preferred. And then I ripped back the rejected method and re-knit the second sock in the selected method. Rejected and selected. So the selected method was, as you can see here, Estonian cast on. Estonian cast on, 1x1 twisted rib, basic heel flap and gusset, and an umbrella toe, which I slightly modified from the one that I have in a pattern for fingering weight socks, just so that there were slightly less decreases to account for the lesser stitch count, because these are DK socks knit with 48 stitches. So I've now got 2 socks that match. I'm really pleased with them. The yarn is so fun. It is by Novita and it is Moomintroll yarn. It's inspired by a picture of Moomintroll with his backpack. These fit me perfectly. They actually fit me really well in my everyday boots that I wear. So they're great for walking or, popping around the shops on a cold day. I don't think I'd wear them in my boots for work because my feet would get really hot, and they'll be great for inside wellies and everything. I'm really, really pleased with these, and I definitely want more DK socks in my future. So that's my first finished object, and now I'm just going to steal the sock blockers for my next finished object. And these are my dad Cornwall socks, so called because I was knitting on these in just before Easter, or I think it was actually the Easter holidays 2018, when my dad suddenly took a turn for the worse. He was already suffering from a brain tumour, brain cancer, and he took a turn for the worse, and I just stopped knitting them because it all became too sad and horrible, and then we entered a period where I just couldn't pick them up. So I ended up frogging them because my gauge had changed and they would toe up, and I don't really knit socks toe up anymore. The yarn is by Down Sheepy Lane, who I don't think die anymore. I haven't seen them in a long time, and it's called Sun, Sea and Shale, which is perfect. It was a lovely sock set, which was a gift from my friend Sarah ages ago, self-striping. And I finally got my dad Cornwall socks, and I'm so glad that I held on to the yarn. I'm so glad that I finally made these. When I look at them, I remember Cornwall, I remember what was happening, I remember what happened afterwards, but I also remember the good bits around that time and the positive things and the time before it. And I just think of my dad, and anything that makes me think of my dad, makes me smile, is a good thing. So interestingly, these were knit on 2mm needles, but they fit just as normal, and I normally knit all my socks on 2.25mm needles, and I actually wanted these to be a bit snugger because I've got a pair of socks that I knit with 2mm needles, and I really like how much negative ease they've got. But I think it might be because this yarn was frogged and then kept in quite tightly wound balls for quite a long time before I've knit these. So I'm wondering if maybe the yarn's just lost a bit of its elasticity. I can say words. So that might be why. So I'm going to knit another pair of socks on 2mm and see what happens. But I'm so pleased. Thank you everyone for the encouragement over the past years whilst I've agonised over what to do. There's always been comments, so helpful, just, with other people talking about projects that seem to have sad thoughts caught up in them, or, yeah, knitting is such a creative thing, isn't it? Or knitting and crochet and fibre things are such a creative thing, and you pour a lot of your time and thoughts into it. I can remember sometimes just looking at a project, the exact film or programme I was watching. Yeah, somehow they hold on to memories, don't they? From two knitted finished things to two crocheted finished things, that doesn't work, to two crochet finished things, I have made 2 hats, and I am delighted with these. So I had 2 skeins of yarn, which I thought really complemented each other. I can't find the leftovers anywhere, but it doesn't matter. You'll see the yarn when I show you the hat. So they're both Aran weight yarns. The first one is Weku yarn, which I bought, I think, at the Southern Wool Show last year. Or was it at the Knitting and Stitching Show last year? It was one. It doesn't matter where I bought it. That's the name of it. All of their yarn, well, not all of their yarn, a lot of their yarn is inspired by their Ghanaian heritage, I believe. And a lot of the names come from that. So this is 100% superwash merino. And then, definitely at the Knitting and Stitching Show last year, I met Fee of Kosy Kitchen Fibres and her husband. And she let me choose a skein of yarn from her stand. So I chose the Wildflower Fairy colour. It's superwash merino Aran, so it's exactly the same base as the Weku yarn. And then once I had them both in my mitts, I thought, oh, I really want to use them together because they complemented each other so well. And here's what I made. Here's the first thing I made. The hat is called, I don't know if I can say this, the Calliope Slouch. I'll put it on the screen just in case I'm saying that wrong. By Danielle Arsnuik. I'm probably saying that wrong as well. Apologies on all counts. It is a pattern for worsted weight yarn with with contrast sort of bobbly bits. It took me a while to work out the pattern. It is a free pattern, and I was reading it wrong, or something wasn't gelling with me, and it took me a few goes before I worked out what the pattern meant. And once I got it, I'm pretty sure I've got it. It looks nice, so even if I've got it wrong, I like it, and it's worked out really well. I really like it. So on this hat, I've done the brim with the Weku yarn. So this is the Aran weight Weku yarn, which is just, I love that. I love this kind of steely grey with speckle kind of vibe. I love it. And then the pink with the bright pops of neon is the Wildflower Fairy yarn from Kosy Kitchen Fibres. And then this epic pom-pom, which can be removed. I've sewed on a popper, so it can be removed for washing. I've had these for ages, and I'm so glad to have finally found a use for them because they're so beautiful. They're by Little Creative Sheep. There she is. And I've got 2 of them. So I had enough yarn with my 2 skeins, my 200-gram skeins of contrasting yarn to make 2 hats. But on this hat, I used the Kosy Kitchen Fibres pink as the rim and the contrast, and the grey Weku yarn as the bobbly thing. Try and give you a close-up of the texture there. The bobbly thing. So technical. It's really simple to do. Really, really simple to do. Now I've made them slightly different. This first one, I shall put it on to show you, fits like a beanie. So there's no slouch in it at all. Love it. This is how I tend to wear my hats. Because I've got a fringe, I do like to have the opportunity to wear it a little bit back so I can still have the fringe action as well. Yeah, so love this. And then because I had plenty of yarn, I'll tell you a bit about the construction of it and the pattern in a minute. I made it much longer because I had the yarn to do it, and I wanted to see what it would look like much longer. So it's got that slouch in it, which I really like. Obviously you can see it better than me because I can't see the back of my own head. But again, love it. It fits so well, and I really love both of these hats. I kind of want to keep them both, but one is going to be a gift. What is going on now? Got Mr. Magica bits sticking up. Okay, so those are my two Calliope, which I'm probably saying wrong, hats, and I love them so much. So the brim is really interesting. It is worked just backwards and forwards as a long strip of single crochet, and that's what gives you the brim. And I really like how it looks. It's pretty, it looks nice, it gives you plenty of stretch, and it means though that you do have to sew them together, sew the ends together to create, you know, bring it into a circle. So there is a little bit of a definite back of the hat, but that's quite good because you can easily see where the back is for when you put it on. Not that you can really see where the back is from joining in the round, but I do like to know for definite where the back of the hat is. I might get a little tag to put on it, like a little finishing touch as well. So that's how the brim is worked. And I did work both hats slightly differently. So for the first hat, the beanie size one, I worked the brim, I'll link the pattern underneath and then you can go and have a look and you'll know what I'm talking about. So I worked the brim as for the adult instructions, and I worked about 63 rows before I joined it in the round. I then followed the child instructions, so I picked up the stitches around the top for the amount of stitches for the child, which, oh, I can tell you, can't I, because it's a free pattern, which is 72. I then did 9 repeats of the pattern before I started the decreases, and after I finished the hat, for my 100 grams of Aran weight yarn, I had 60 grams of the grey remaining, and which means I used 40 grams for this hat. And I had 65 grams of the pink remaining, which means I'd only use 35. So I knew that I had plenty left for a second hat. And for the second hat, again, I worked the brim as for an adult, but I think I worked a couple more rows, maybe about 63 rows before I joined them. Then I worked the adult instructions to make it a bit slouchier, which is picking up 76 stitches around the top. And I think I then did 12 repeats. So that's 3 extra repeats before I started the decreases, so it's a bit longer. I used just about all of the grey yarn and most of the pink, and when I can find what I've done with it, the remains are going to go into one of my leftover yarn ugly blankets. Yeah, so it's a free pattern, as I said, by Danielle Arsnewick, which I'm probably saying wrong. She is a Knotty Habit Designs. Oh, and I used 5mm hook for the brim and a 5.5mm hook for the body, which are the hook sizes given in the pattern, and I didn't swatch because I was feeling reckless. I just had to change the battery quickly. I'm only mentioning it in case the background or the angle of the picture has changed, because I had to take my camera off the tripod and do it. So, as if 2 hats and 2 pairs of socks weren't enough, I entered into a kind of hat knitting frenzy, because knitting those hats in Aran weight yarn was so satisfying. So I moved immediately on to tackling the hat I've been trying to make for my friend who has no hair at the moment due to cancer treatment. And I held the yarn double. So I think last time I was talking to you about the fact that I was making a hat, I was using this gorgeous Soy Cotton yarn. I'm in such a tangle here. This bag is disgraceful. The bag, by the way, itself is not disgraceful. This is by Sarah Jo Makes. It's my Charleston bag, which was something she made for the Strictly Sock Along, and I love it because it's yellow and it's got Charleston on it, and she's wearing a yellow dress and it's 1920s, and I just love it. And in here though is a mess of yarn and needles and just paraphernalia. And I've got a whole ball of this left. It is Soy Cotton, which I got from Yarnsulike, lovely Marcia. So it's Soy Cotton yarn, and I chose it because it is so soft. It is like butter. It is gorgeous against your skin. It is 50% organic cotton, 50% soybean fibre, and in 50 grams you get 129 metres or 140 yards. So that would be 280 yards per 100 grams, which I think would make it about a DK weight, wouldn't it? I think that would make it a DK weight, or sort of a light DK weight, a sport weight, maybe? I'm not sure. So I held 2 strands of this double, And I just was I just made it up. I never do this. I happen to have hat needles, 40cm hat needles in size 3.25mm. So I thought they'll do. I cast on 100 stitches because it divides by 4. So I thought if I wanted to add a little pattern, that might work quite well. I did a 2x2 rib, and then I saw my friend Sarah Yarn Mugs talk about, on her latest podcast, she was talking about some violet waffle hats that she'd made, which was a free pattern by Haldora J, is what I've got written down. I'll link it underneath so you've got the link to the pattern on Ravelry. So it's a free pattern. So I had a quick look at that, and it so happens it's a really simple kind of broken rib pattern, and it divides by 4. So I thought, oh, I'll stick that in. So I just kept going, stuck in the violet waffle pattern, and I decreased it over breakfast this morning and wove in the ends. And here is my violet waffle hat. I was a bit worried that I was decreasing too early, but it's perfect. My friend, by the way, wears her hats very similar to me. She too, the wig that she wears has a fringe, and she often wears the wig with a hat, but it would also be long enough that it could easily just come down over her ears and her forehead if she wanted to, if she was just walking the dog or something. It would completely cover her head, so it would just look like she had her hair up in the hat, and I know that's important to her. So yeah, so this is the violet waffle hat. I will show you close up. This is the podcast of me just messing my hair up. It's going to be a little, oh no, I thought it'd be harder than this to show you because of the darkness of the yarn. It is quite a dark berry colour, which is hard to show on the camera because it does blow it out to a kind of browner colour. Mind you, I often say that, and then when I come to edit it, I realise it's probably just my view screen, but when I actually watch the video, it's quite accurate, so who knows. So I got a nice deep brim. I think this was about 14 or 15 rounds, and then I did the violet waffle pattern, and the way it's decreased is beautiful. It stays in pattern as it decreases, and it's really clever. It's a really nice tidy gradual decrease. I really like it. So I'm going to give her a shout and say, do you want to come over and try on some hats? If you could see cat hair on this, by the way, the cat sat on it. We don't have a cat, but she's here all the time. She's next door's cat, and she sat on it last night, and I was like, I don't even have a cat, and now I have to deal with cat hair. So I've got a whole ball of it left, and I haven't weighed. Hang on, let's have a bit of a sort out here. So these are the needles I use. 3.25mm on 40cm Knit Pro Zings. Here is Marcia's card from Yarnsulike, if you are interested in having a look. She vends at, oh, what market does she vend at? Does it say on here? Chatsworth Road in London. Chatsworth Road Market, she vends, I think, every week or every month. And she does a lot of the shows here in the UK, so it's really worth looking out for her. She does all natural fibres and eco-friendly hand knitting yarns. It's a really lovely alternative to animal fibres, and they're so soft and beautiful, and I love the yarn. Okay, it's worse than I thought now that I've emptied the bag. So these are the Knit Pro Zings. Oh, words. Knit Pro Zings. I've literally just said Knit Pro Zings and still I can't remember the word. Knit Pro Zings DPNs that I use in order to finish the hat as I was decreasing. I had to switch to those. And this is what I have left of the 2 skeins here. I haven't weighed it, but I will, and then I will put it on the screen how much I have left so you know how much I used for the entire hat. I need to be better and put things on Ravelry, but I've kind of got out of the habit of doing that. But it'd be handy for me, because I know I check back on my projects a lot and I do find it handy, so I do need to be better at doing that. So I don't know how much I used out of my 2 balls, but I reckon it's pretty much most of them. Then, this is where things have gone horribly wrong in the bag. I've got 2 more skeins, but look what's happened to this one. I'm going to have to wind these up, I think, into balls. So it's the same yarn, the Soy Cotton, but it's in a different shade. So if you're interested, the burgundy one is called Burgundy and the blue one is called blue royal, so royal blue basically. So I'm gonna, oh, don't worry, don't panic everybody, this will be mended. So I might make another hat exactly the same with these two, because I really love how that fits, and it might be that she prefers blue to the burgundy, or I can give it as a gift. So that's what I'm going to do with these two. So I'm going to put these back in the bag, and I'm just going to cast on another one. So hopefully next episode there'll be another hat to share. Oh, the carnage that's down there, I can't even look at it. My final finished object is, oh, my eyes are watering now. I have this real problem at the moment with dry eyes, which I think might be down to perimenopause. But it does mean, weirdly, even though I've got dry eyes, that they do also water a lot. Oh joy. I have finished my needlepoint project. I bought a kit at the Knitting and Stitching show at Ali Pali last year from Hannah Bass Needlepoint, and I bought the Sunny Love needlepoint kit. There it is. And there's the finished thing. She offered 4 different colour ways, colour combinations, and this is the one I chose. In the picture here, she has it in a little frame, and I spoke to her at the Knitting and Stitching show, and she did recommend frames that were sold by IKEA. So I popped to IKEA, any excuse, and I picked up one of the frames, which I've already broken, or it might have been broken, but it's not a huge problem. I can fix that. And here it is. Now I'm going to have to try and do this without reflecting. Oh, there we go. That's quite good if I hold it away from the window. So at the show, she had these just hanging in the frame without the glass, but with a little bit of patience and some amount of swearing, I managed to get it wedged between the 2 sheets of glass that you get and into the frame so that it's properly framed behind glass. It would still look nice, I think, without the glass, but it looks really nice and finished with the glass. And the good thing about this frame is you've got the chain, but it's also got a little stand, so I can literally just pop it onto, I could just pop it up as a stand. The only thing is you can't have any light behind it, because once you have light behind it, it really shows all the holes and everything that's going on behind, because this is what it looks like at the back. Ah! This was a lot of fun to do. It feels like a bit like playing, this kind of needlepoint. It's plastic canvas needlepoint. Thank you to the viewer who told me what this craft is actually called. So you're working on a plastic cross-stitch fabric basically, but it's made of plastic, and you use quite DK weight tapestry wool. And it is quite hard going, because you really do need to sort of pull it through, push it through, pull it through. So you can only do a little chunk at a time really, because it does start to wear down your fingers a little bit. But I really, really enjoyed it. It was kind of like colouring for crafty, fibre obsessed grown-ups. That's what it felt like, and I'm so pleased with it, and I'm really pleased. I was a bit worried about the colourway I'd chosen and trying to hold it without reflecting. But I'm really, really pleased with it, and it goes really well in the vibe of our house, so I think it can go in any room. I'm going to pop it over here where I can see it for now. Really pleased. Let's move on to works in progress. I don't know why I'm singing that. Right, first of all, 2 confessions. 1, I promised, didn't I, last time that I would finish Lilia's crochet dress, which has been over a year in the making, and all I now need to do is add a bit of elastic and 2 rows to the bottom. I said I would in the last episode, but that was lies, outlandish lies. Stick with me, I will triumph. French kiss reference. If you haven't seen the film, that'll make no sense. Second confession. I said I would add at least 4 colour sections and 4 plain sections to my litmus cow, and I haven't even picked it up. So I'm not even going to show you that. But I did finish, you know, 3 hats, so there's that. I should say as well, actually, this is not a whip. It's a kind of whip to be. It's a hat to be, because I'm so obsessed now with the worsted weight, Aran weight hat knitting that I wound up a skein of yarn that I bought specifically for making a hat, and I bought it with a pom-pom. I bought them at the same yarn show. So the pom-pom is by the Crafty Bird. her stall at yarn shows is amazing because it's like a pet shop full of pom-poms that you can adopt. You probably can't see that, but it's the Crafty Bird. Goes quite well with my top there, doesn't it? And the yarn, how well does this go? I just love it. The yarn is by one of my favourite dyers. It is Third Vault Yarns. There's her cute little logo. She dyes sci-fi and kind of nerdy inspired yarn. And the colour of this one is unfathomable depths. I can say long words sometimes. It's worsted weight and it's Superwash Falklands Merino. That's the name of the base. Unfathomable depths. Which will be a reference to something I don't understand, a film or comic or something. And this is the yarn all wound up. Oh, I love it so much. Oh, it's just gorgeous. I can't wait to get that knit up. So I found a pattern. So I wanted a pattern that would be good for worsted weight, variegated yarn, preferably free. I found one that's not free. So if you know of one that is free, drop me a comment underneath. The one I found though, I think it's about £5 and it is beautiful. The Tenny Beanie by Margaret Stauffacher. I'll show you the name and the hat. This one. Very similar to actually my yarn, isn't it? So it's called the Tenny Beanie. It's got a very sort of light bit of cabling on it and I thought that looked really nice with the variegated yarn that she's used. So that's a contender for me. It's $5, so that's about £4.30 at the moment. But if you do know of any other worsted weight patterns that would look good with her, specifically a variegated yarn, please do let me know. Then I've got my Smash the Like button socks, living in one of my little dodgy bags with my new buttons on, or my new badges. I shoved these on during the last podcast and I just really like them, so I've left them there. I sell these in my shop. They're all completely plastic free and biodegradable. Actually, that's not true. They've got a metal pin. You'd need to take the metal pin off, but they're completely plastic free. So I sell my 2 Strictly socks badges. Have happy adventures and you are a little job of wonderful. And they're a bit bigger than your average badge, which I'm loving. I'm loving the bigger yarn, bigger badges, bigger everything. And in here I have a skein of very precious yarn, and the yarn is called Smash the Like button. Oh, I've just realised I've got another pin on this bag as well. Hang on. This was a gift and I love it. So this is, you're going to laugh, that this little character, this penguin, is called Pekka. We've had discussions on this channel and my other channel before, haven't we, about the word Pekka. But this is her kind of a signature character that she has. Deli's Designs has a podcast, a sort of studio. She does studio vlogs. She runs a business where she does illustration, graphic design. She makes pins, stickers, that kind of thing. I love her vlogs. I was only introduced to her because of the person that sent me the badge. And therefore I went and looked her up and I really like her. She's based in England and I love her cosy little studio vlogs. They're really good and the stuff that she does is really cute. So these are my Smash the Like button socks. They are called the Smash the Like button socks because the yarn is called Smash the Like button. This was the little thing that was stuck into the top of the yarn cake when Lorraine, who dyed it, gave it to me. There we go. It took a while, but it got in focus in the end. Oh, destroy the like button. Sorry, not smash the like button. Destroy the like button. It's a reference to a vlog I did on this channel a long time ago. And so she dyed the yarn specifically for me. It's Lorraine, who I haven't seen around on Instagram in a long time. So I hope you're okay, Lorraine, if you're still watching. And I saved this yarn for so long because it was so precious, which is silly, isn't it? You need to use it. So I'm using my brand new DPN holder, which keeps my stitches onto my DPN needles. I often get asked what a DPN holder is. So I bought this from Pickle Lily when I went to the Waltham Abbey wool show back in January. And basically it's just a little cozy with little poppers, and it means that you can put your needles in, and then your work on the needles scooshes up in the middle between the two poppers, and you pop that under the needles, and it stops your yarn from sliding off the ends of your needles when you put it in your project bag. They're very handy things to have. So this is, again, I used the Estonian cast on. I cast on 56 stitches, and then I did 1 by 1 twisted rib. And I am using, for the first time ever, Knit Pro Nova Cubics, so the metal version of the Knit Pro Cubics. They are amazing. These are the 2.25 millimeter size, which is what I normally use for socks. I really hope that this is, look at my stitches. Look how neat they are. Look at the twisted rib. Look how neat. This is not how I knit. This is down to these cubic needles. Aren't those stitches just, they just make your stitches so even. I am so impressed with these. Really impressed. So this is the only pair of socks I've got on the go at the moment now, so I need to get going. So as you can see, this is sock 1. I usually knit my socks concurrently. Well, in the past I've knit my socks concurrently, but more recently I've just been knitting them one at a time, because I don't seem to be struggling with second sock syndrome or anything. So I just knit one sock, then knit the other. Just keep good notes in my little notebook whilst I go, so I know what I did. So I'm just in the middle of doing the heel flap. I think I've got a few more rows to do. And then it's just going to be a run-of-the-mill heel flap and gusset, and I've kept it completely vanilla because I just wanted to see that beautiful striping in the yarn, which is so lovely. So those are my destroy the like button socks. So let's cozy these all back up in my little froggy needle cozy. Oh look, there's her, that's her little label there. You can go back and watch the vlog that I made about Waltham Abbey Wool Show. Actually, I did a whole vlog about my visit to that show. And speaking of yarn shows, I am going to the East Anglia Yarn Festival on Saturday. So by the time you're watching this, that'll be on the Saturday that's already happened, yesterday. So I'll be doing a vlog about that as well. I'm an official podcaster. I had to apply for permission to film, and then I got a little thing that I was allowed to share that said I was an official podcaster. Felt very grown up. Dan's coming with me as well. He's not going to know what's hit him. I also decided to cast on at last the Amma top, which is a really simple free pattern by Maria Valles. I think, yeah, Valles. It's very, very simple. It's basically the instructions for making 2 large granny squares. I'm just doing this in my preferred method, which is I crochet 1 round, and then in each, when I finished a round, I do it. So I start each round by chaining 3 and then doing 2 double crochets, and by that American term, so trebles if you're UK terms, into the corner space. Then I work all the way round until I get back to that same corner space. I work 3 double crochets or treble crochets into the space where I started. So then I've got 3 double crochets, then I've got the starting chain and the 2 crochets I made at the beginning, the 2 double crochets I made at the beginning. I then make a double crochet or treble crochet into the top of the chain 3 that I started with. So instead of doing sort of chain 2 and then joining, I make a double crochet. And what that means is it puts my hook right in the middle of the corner rather than off a little bit to the side. I then turn it and chain 3 and make my 2 double crochets and then keep going. So I turn at the end of every round by doing that. I hope that makes sense. So this is where I'm up to. Basically, this is where I'm up to in my first square. It's great for just picking up of an evening when I don't have the brain power for anything else. I've got 2 skeins of this yarn, and it's beautiful. Now ask me what the yarn is. I don't know. I don't know where I put the other skein, and I don't know where the label is, but I know I've got 2 of them. Missing yarn. It can only be a problem if you live in yarn chaos. So I'm going to have to do a bit of hunting, but until then I'm just continuing and hoping that one day the second skein will turn up and I'll actually know what I'm crocheting with. Cross stitch works in progress. I've got 2 to share with you. I've actually turned into a bit of a cross stitch fiend. I've got a few on the go, but I'm only going to share 2 with you because I wanted to show you a little bit of progress on my David Attenborough cross stitch, which I love, and it's living in my gorgeous little pouchy bag that was made for me by, well, here's her label, by Angela. I don't think she sells these. I don't think she does. Angela, if you're watching and you do, get in touch and I can pass your details on to people. But it's perfect for my cross stitch, and I've got David in here, and this is a design by Hoops and Crosses. So this cross stitch was based on this illustration, which I'm going to need to stop keeping in this bag because it's going to get all crushed and it's too lovely. I want to put it in a frame. So it's this gorgeous illustration of David Attenborough, on National Treasure, David Attenborough. And the illustration is by Geeky Little Monkey. And I'm working on the top half of the design at the moment. So I'm just sorting out my needle because I don't have a needle minder on this project. So you get everything you need in the kit. You get all the thread, you get the hoop, you get the, whatever this is called, the fabric, the Ada. So I'm just done the first half and I've decided I'm going to do it in 2 halves. So I did all of the black outlines and now I've started basically just colouring in. I'm basically just colouring in David Attenborough with thread. Just living my best life. It's amazing. It's so much fun and it's a full coverage. So I'm going to fill the whole thing and I can't tell you how much I'm enjoying this. It is amazing. What a great design. So I will keep you posted on that. I could just do this all day. Maybe that's what I will request I get to do on Mother's Day, is just sit and work on my David Attenborough. Do I have the Hoops and Crosses card? Hang on. No. I don't have the Hoops and Crosses card, but I'll put all the information in the description box underneath so that you can go and make your own David if you want. Then I've got a new one on the go, which is in one of my dodgy bags, what I made from old cushion cover and some lovely Little Red Riding Hood fabric, and I put on a Alice badge that my sister sent me. And in here is a birthday project. So we all know I failed spectacularly last year in my eldest daughter Lilia's handmade birthday present, which was the crochet dress that I'm still working on. And this year she has requested a specific cross stitch that she had seen on Pinterest. It's by the Folklore Company, and it was quite a different experience for buying it because I had to just buy the pattern and then go and buy the threads. So I got all the threads in Hobbycraft, that was easy, and there were 3 different sizes for the pattern and I didn't really understand that. So I looked at the Ada that I had, which by the way I bought at a fantastic price. Like the Ada, I got a metre of it here. It's DMC and I got it from lovely Julie at So Unique UK. It was free shipping and it was the ordering process was brilliant. I love Julie and I was really happy that she sold this because it's nice to buy from someone you know, isn't it, rather than the big businesses. So yeah, I'll link her underneath because she's a brilliant supplier for crafty things. And I've done all the text of this. You can't make everyone happy, you're not tacos. Lilia, my eldest daughter, loves tacos, loves them. So she saw this and she was like, I've got to have that. But as you can see, this is in quite a big hoop and it's going to have a design like flowers that go around the edge, which I'm going to start today. So I'm not sure if this is going to even fit in this hoop, which I think is 9 inches. So I don't know if maybe I ordered the wrong size. It doesn't matter. She'll have it as big as it is, you know, but it does feel like rather massive at the moment. But, you know, it's a statement. I've just been saying big is better. It's a statement that needs to be very clearly visible. Oh, and this, by the way, this little needle minder, I bought this. I treated myself to a needle minder. Any excuse to buy new crafting equipment. Can you see it's like a little sea with a starfish? And I bought this from Etsy. It's from the Stitching Den. There you go. There's a little QR code there as well if you want to scan it. The Stitching Den. It does say on the back, love your order but want it cheaper, shop directly on our website at thestitchingden.co.uk. So I'll bear that in mind. So that is my final work in progress that I'm going to share with you. So I'm going to talk about Skillshare. So this is going to be an interesting one because the class I did this time wasn't one I would have usually picked. And I didn't agree with one of the things the teacher said, and I will explain that as we go on. And it probably, out of everything I've done on Skillshare, had the biggest, most unexpected impact on me as a creative person, or even just as a person, out of everything I've ever done on there. And it was literally like this epiphany. I'm going to have to Google the word epiphany to make sure I'm using that right. I am. A moment of sudden and great revelation or realisation. So let's get stuck in. That was quite a big build-up. So this video is very kindly sponsored by Skillshare, which I'm sure you know by now is an online learning community with thousands of classes in creative subjects. When I first joined Skillshare just over a year ago, I really just wanted to explore as many creative possibilities as I could, learn as many new creative things. You've seen me do mindful doodling, cue video overlays here. So mindful doodling, plant smashing to extract pigment. I've done cartography to express emotions. I've even done a class in cooking the perfect pasta sauce. And last time I talked to you, I was starting the Confidence for Creatives class with Eugenia Washington, which has been so good, and I'm still working through that one. So Skillshare are really championing creative careers at the moment. So I chose a recommended class on creative confidence, which is an area I'm really drawn to. Creative confidence and silencing that inner critic, which in my case is really loud. So I did the class Creative Breakthrough, 8 exercises to power your creativity, confidence and career with Danielle Crisser, who is an artist and author and blogger at The Jealous Creator, and I think she also has an audio podcast as well. Danielle starts a class with the story of what happened to her in university, where she was basically told by her professor within weeks of graduating as a painting student that she should never paint again. And she speaks about how that affected her and how that sort of basically stopped her in her tracks with painting. She shares in the class what she calls her aha moments from her life, snippets that have basically impacted her whilst talking to other artists and creatives that have helped power her creativity, confidence and career. She highlights the importance of prioritising creativity in your life and not treating it as just this frivolous thing. If you're a creative person, then you really have to sort of show up for yourself with it and not just brush it aside as a hobby or something that's an aside and, you know, that can be just dropped to go and do something else, but the importance of actually scheduling time into your life to work on your creative things, especially if it's something that you're doing as part of your working life. She does use one term, and this is the bit I disagree with. She refers to using or having a gift, which is something when it comes to creativity that I don't agree with. We all know that, for example, with drawing, no one's born knowing how to draw. It is about the inclination to do it, the will to do it, the learning of it. You learn how to do it like any other skill. We all know that Van Gogh had to teach himself to draw. We've all seen those dodgy early drawings that he did. It is a learned skill, so I do struggle a little bit with the term gift. Maybe natural inclinations might be a better term. I don't know. That said, within the first 2 exercises, I'd had my revelation. So she definitely hit home with me on the things she was talking about in this class. So there's a workbook that you download to do alongside her as she's going through the class. And there's 8 exercises in it. Exercise 1 is looking back at what you, the kind of child that you were and what you were into. So it says, when you were little, what did you want to be? I'm not going to go through this in great detail because obviously it's part of the class. But I wrote that I wanted to be, I remember very clearly, I wanted to be a journalist, a writer, an artist, or an astronaut. I'm no good at maths. I was never going to be an astronaut, and I'm probably quite scared of space, to be honest. But I remember journalist was a huge one, and so was art, drawing or painting. It says, when I was little, my favourite toy was. Now I thought about this, and the thing that really rang through for me was strawberry shortcake dolls and the strawberry shortcake giant strawberry case I had to carry them around in. It's just what really struck me. So I wrote that down. When I was a kid, I spent hours, drawing. Drawing indoors, drawing outside in the garden, in my room, on my school books, writing in endless diaries and journals, and making things from Fimo clay. Those were the things I spent hours doing. And then it says, if you had all the money and time in the world now, what would you do? I put, I'd live in the countryside, I'd walk from the sea in a quiet place, I'd have my own studio to create in, and I'd read and walk loads. So then she says, use your gift, brainstorm. So I'm going to change that to use your natural inclinations, brainstorm. So using the answers to those questions, she has you do a little brainstorm about how you might use your natural inclinations to start a new project or incorporate fresh material into your current process. So I did this, and I did it really quickly, and I came up with maybe try making zines, because it's a form of storytelling, journalism, diary writing, drawing. Draw strawberry shortcake dolls. I've still got them. I could draw them. Then I thought, crochet strawberry shortcake dolls. That led me down a very long route on Ravelry of amazing, I'll just put a few pictures up, just quickly, strawberry shortcake dolls that you could crochet. Okay, we're all gonna have to do this. Who's in? Who's in for making strawberry shortcake dolls? Me. They're amazing. I'll put the links to all the patterns I found in the description box underneath. Maybe pick up clay again, start playing with clay, the air drying clay or Fimo clay again. Make a creative space. If I've put that I want to have my own creative space, is there something I could do? Could I revisit my creative shed in the garden idea that I've kind of shelved? Could I actually just maybe do that? Stop thinking of reasons not to. Really save my money and maybe do that, could I? But it was exercise 2, the power of a teacher, that really hit me. She says, a teacher's words have power, whether for better or worse. Reclaim these moments, good or bad. And then she has you write a list of positive and negative things you can really remember, whether it's teachers or just people with influence in your life, where they've made a positive or negative comment or contribution to your creative life. So in my positive column, and I haven't finished this, I started off with my strongest positive creative memory, which is when in the last year of primary school, we all had to draw robots that were going to be used in our class display. It was a moonscape, and we needed a moon robot to go on it, and we all drew robots, and mine was selected as the best one. I will never get over that. It was amazing. So my robot went up on the moonscape at the back of the classroom. Another positive thing that has had a huge impact on me is when I started sharing my drawings here. You, my viewers and my subscribers here and on my other channel, have been so positive and encouraging, and that has a huge influence on me. So thank you for that. And just writing that down and realising how important that is to me was a bit of a revelation. But it was a negative column which kind of awakened a memory I'd kind of lost and made me pull it all together and find a link. Without going into too much detail, because it's not my story to tell, when I was 15 and doing GCSE art, which was my absolute favourite subject, my 2 art teachers were arrested. We came into school one day, we were called into a special assembly, we were told what happened, there were news reporters outside, and we were told how we were supposed to handle that in a very 90s way, which probably wasn't very well, or we probably didn't have the support that we should have had. I can't remember any art lesson after that. Art was everything to me. It was my absolute favourite subject, and although I didn't always like the kind of things we had to do as part of the GCSE syllabus for art, I loved it. It was my favourite subject, and in the end I just passed with I think a C grade. And then I went on to do business at college and then at university, and years later my dad and stepmom said to me, yeah, we were always surprised that you did that. We always thought you'd go into doing something with art. And writing this down and realising what had happened when I was 15 and the shock of it, and the fact that I can't remember art lessons, I can't remember replacement teachers, I can't remember what happened in art after that. I just have this really overriding memory of the last thing I was working on when those teachers were there, which was an oil painting of a house, an end terrace house. We all had to bring in pictures of houses and stuff, and then they were sort of randomly distributed, and then we had to do an oil painting. And I just thought it was the most boring thing, but I can't get that out of my head now. It's the only thing I can remember, the last thing I can remember before that all happened. I'm pretty sure Skillshare weren't banking on triggering an existential breakthrough. But there you go. By identifying things that have blocked me in my creative past, I feel I can now kind of take that and answer some internal questions and move into my creative future. And no goal is too small, is it? Maybe I'll do, my next class will be on oil painting. Maybe I will do that oil painting of a random terrace house in the southeast of England. So the first 1,000 people to use the link in my description box, and I'll also put it in a pinned comment as well, will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare if you want to give it a go. Existential crisis not guaranteed. Shall we move on? The Dodgy Bag MAL is back again. 4th year, 5th year. Crochet Luna, lovely Claudia, and I have run this for a number of years together, an unspecified number of years, and it is returning this year. The dates are yet to be confirmed, but we usually do it from the beginning of May to the beginning of June. I'm going to try and do another bag making tutorial to go along with it, and there were several other bag making tutorials. If you look under playlists, you'll see there's a tutorials playlist for sewing bags. And the idea of the Dodgy Bag MAL is I quite often make my own bags, such as this one, such as this one, and I am a self-taught sewer, and they're always a bit dodgy, so I always just call them dodgy bags. They're just my dodgy bags. So we decided to run a dodgy bag make-along so that people could just let go of any ideas of perfection or inhibitions and just say, do you know what, I'm going to make a bag, and if I can use it, that'll be fine. And actually it's a little bit easier than you would think to make yourself your own project bag. I tend to use a lot of upcycled stuff like old cushion covers, old pairs of jeans and so on. And if you take a look at those tutorials that I've done in the past, you'll see that in action. There will be 2 winners from the Instagram hashtag, which Claudia will draw, and the hashtag is DodgyBagMal23. You can start using it now, and I'm going to set up a Ravelry thread so we can all start chatting all things bags. And there will be, like I say, another tutorial. There will be more detail in the next episode, but I wanted to just say that now. It's coming. Dodgy bags are coming. And finally, the little bit at the end where we just do all the little mop-up bits that you need to know. I've already mentioned the East Anglia Yarn Festival, which I went to yesterday, but actually in reality now haven't been to yet. So watch out for a vlog coming up on that. Also watch out on my other channel, this is Little Drops of Wonderful, This Little Wonderful Life, my vlogging channel. I'm going to be doing vlogs every day in April, so you can expect lots of days out, birthday shenanigans, creative stuff, cooking, just daily life stuff here in the UK. So if you're into that kind of thing, make sure you look out for that on the 1st of April, or maybe the 31st of March for the first vlog. I also wanted to mention, Dan's hat. I've had loads of questions about whether or not Dan has finished his hat. My husband is learning to knit, so he's starting on his hat. He just needs to do the decreases. No, he hasn't finished it. We haven't found the time to sit down together to do the decreases. We've agreed that we're going to try and do that today. I reckon he should have that finished so he can wear it to the Yarn Festival on Saturday, but we'll see. We will keep you updated. Also, the Project Christmas jumper, next update will be soon. I have selected some yarn, which I won't show you now, which I need to do a swatch of. So that's going to be very ad hoc throughout the year. It's just going to turn up whenever I'm ready to do it. But keep your eyes peeled for Project Christmas Jumper. And if you don't know what that is, have a look at a video or so ago. Project Christmas Jumper. I'm going to make a Christmas jumper all over this year. And finally, I wanted to mention an audiobook I listened to, which it was a real surprise. It just happened to be available on BorrowBox, which meant it was free to listen to. I needed something a bit background, so I chose The Second Chance Holiday Club by Kate Galley, read by Rachel Atkins. I don't think it's on Audible, and it was an unexpected delight. It was all of the main characters were aged 70 and over, which I thought was wonderful. And I know that I am very lucky that a large proportion of my viewers and subscribers are over the age of 60, over the age of 70, over the age of 80 even, which I find amazing. And I'm very privileged that you choose to spend some time with me here. And it just made me think of you guys, because I've recommended it to my mum, who's in her mid-70s, and it was lovely to have this really positive, full of life story about older characters, older women, living their lives to the full. It was really, really positive, and it was read beautifully. The narrator, Rachel Atkins, did the voices really well. I particularly liked how she voiced Cynthia. I thought I could just picture her in my head. So yeah, that was on BorrowBox, which is like the UK library app. Oh no, I'm saying that's not true, is it? It's across the world. I think it depends where you are, what's available. But I did check and I don't think it's on Audible. But it's The Second Chance Holiday Club by Kate Galley. That's it, I'm shutting up now. I set myself a time limit and I've gone way over it. So now I'm going to have a job to do with editing. I've also got to clear up the yarn bath that is around me now. And I've probably missed out a ton of stuff. I'll see you in the vlog about East Anglia Yarn Festival. Until then, happy knitting, happy crocheting, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.